"So, how are you going to lead?" he asked, the guy in the suit, the careers advisor. I sat facing him across the desk, my hand throbbing from his bone-crushing handshake. Everything was a competition at Alpha School. Shaking hands wasn't a friendly greeting, but the first opportunity to dominate the other guy. We had all been trained in this. Any weakness you showed was first publicly mocked and belittled before you were then taken quietly aside and reminded of your responsibility to be strong, to present as fearless. It was normal for me, growing up in that house with my father. I learned to suppress my emotions early. Expressing them never brought anything positive. My father's emotions were more important than mine after all, and any affection and approval given was always performance-based. When I failed to answer, the careers guy broke into the familiar script. Life was about pursuit of two things only: money and power. A man could not have one without the other. So he would ask me again, how did I plan to lead? I made up some bullshit. I planned on going into finance. I would become known as the shark, aggressively pursuing weak companies to create a portfolio of wealth. I would upfront all my personal investment, retire at 30, and figure out my next move after that. The guy nodded, told me he had believed me. That was clearly a guy who knew what to say in the room. Remember that he commanded. "Fuck you. I'm going to be a writer," I thought to myself as I walked out. GCSE was fucking weird. A pressurized tunnel, the last exam being over the light I ran towards, our teachers upping the stakes every single lesson. We would be prime ministers, presidents, industry titans. How the fuck did we expect to get there if we couldn't recite Woodrow Wilson's 14 points? Gallows were placed in every classroom, and 3 boys briefly hanged until it was argued that retention would not be improved by cutting oxygen supply to our brains. My father added greatly to the weight I was already carrying at this time. Bursting into my bedroom and catching me not revising, he would immediately begin shouting that I wasn't working hard enough, that I would amount to nothing, that I would never be better than him. An opinion he attempted to make fact by blowing up his own O-level results slip into a poster he framed on the wall outside my room, making it the first thing I saw each morning, regularly calling me a faggot for loving the arts and humanities, holding up my brother, Ham, now 21, and working in my father's property business as someone who actually got it. The world was about money, and getting it was all about who you knew. My father was only a few years away from going out of business at this time and beginning to drink heavily most nights. He made me hate him, but I used all the anger as fuel. I did way better than expected. When I presented my results to my father at his company office, in front of his 100 employees, he looked me in the eyes and shook my hand. I was a man now, he said quietly, and if I promised not to tell Mom, he'd get me a hooker, my brother confessing that he'd accepted the same offer when he'd got his results. I exit the memory and come back into my body, caffeine racing through my bloodstream, tapping my pen on the knuckles of my hand. I no longer feel just angry or numb. I feel so many different things. My father was who he was. There was nothing I could have said or done to save him. Did I choose him? How would I do that? That's insane, but okay, let's say I did. What did having him as a father develop in me that I could use now? What did he teach me, even unwittingly? What did I learn?